Well, hey there folks, welcome to another episode here at the channel. Today we have a monster folder we're checking out from Hardcore Hardware. Now, Hardcore Hardware has been making fixed blades for a little while. They're an Australian company, and we've reviewed a few here on the channel. Very tough, very durable knives with definitely a tactical vein, tactical application. And this is their first jump into folders. So this is their very first folder, and so this is going to be a big deal, and this is going to be a big review. It's not super difficult in the sense of design to come up with a fixed blade design. Then you either have a laser cut out or you hammer it out, make sure the heat treat's good, and bam, you're good to go. A folder is a lot more complicated. You got moving parts, you got locking mechanisms, you got pocket clips, you just got a lot of different things that you got to think about when you're designing and making a folder versus a fixed blade. So we're going to see if this first folder from Hardcore Hardware is produced well, designed well throughout this review. We're going to do a lot of EDC, tactical, as well as woods use with this knife. So we're looking here today at the MILF-01. That's right, the MILF-01. I don't know if that was a joke. I don't know if that means something different over in Australia. Please, this is a family show, so let's keep the jokes in the comments to a minimum and as clean as possible. But yeah, that is what we're looking at here today, the MILF-01 from Hardcore Hardware. So with that being said, let's go ahead, jump out there, start using this folder, and hopefully by the end of the video, you'll know whether or not this is a monster blade for you, or if there's other stuff on the market that you'd rather pick from. Obviously, that's your choice, and hopefully by the end of the video, you'll know what's going to be the right folder for you. So let's get to it. All right, folks, let's go ahead and talk about the blade and its overall performance here and how does it perform. Now, it's going to be 0.15 inches thick, or 4 millimeters thick, and it's going to be 90 millimeters long, or 3.45 inches long, and those are the basic specs for you. And then we got CPM S30V steel out of the USA. CPM S30V steel is a great steel. I have it on several of my other blades as well as fixed blades and folders, and it's a very, very good steel. It's semi-rust resistance. There is some high carbon in it, and I have seen, and I'm in a pretty low humid environment, at like 40% is usually what it is around where I live, and I have seen very slight specks of rust appearing on the blade in that stone wash finish that they offer. So that is something to know. If you're in a high humid environment, you will have to watch S30V. Now, with this heat treat that they've done in the Rockwell I believe is 59 to 60. They've done a great job with that. And this blade is definitely, with that thickness and how they designed it, it has 2 grinds. Now, it's a hollow grind, but they have done first this drop point, and then they've done this recurve. So there's 2 separate points there. So this makes this great for stabbing with that unsharpened swedge. I mean, this is a super, super strong blade when it comes to stabbing and tactical prying tasks. It's going to handle a lot of abuse, and that portion right there is going to be very easy for you to resharpen as well if you were ever to damage it, stabbing through things that, would maybe over time wear out the edge, chip it, roll it, whatever. It's going to be able to be taken care of rather easily. The reason I bring that up is because of this recurve. Now, this recurve is awesome. It is a great slicer through all the different materials that I've put it through. I mean, it's just phenomenal. And really, this blade goes through anything you put up against it, save for like food. Food is really the only thing that it's not very good at. Food prep, cutting apples and fruit and that type of thing. It's just not very good at that. It's not really designed for that. But that hollow grind with the recurve and that first grind up top near the tip really make this just a phenomenal cutter, regardless if it is wood, cardboard, nylon, paracord, seat belts, you name it. I've gone through it all, and this thing just flies right through it with 0 resistance, which is epic. The downside, for something to note, is, and why I brought up the resharpening, is because of the recurve right here, you really have to have a good sharpening kit and know what you're doing if you ever damage this blade, in the sense of getting any chips or rolls or just really heavy dulling on the recurve portion. You're gonna need some sort of ceramic or diamond coated rods, and you're gonna have to really kind of know what you're doing. This is basically what I'm saying, is because of the grind angles and the recurve, you can't really be a rookie and get this knife. You're gonna kind of be frustrated. It's gonna be very hard for you. You can't just use like a normal flat stone to get that recurve. You gotta have rods, and you gotta spend some time on that. So just something to note. If you know what you're doing, you know how to resharpen blades, great. You're gonna love this thing, and I think it's gonna perform fantastically well for you in any sort of utility task. But if you're a rookie and you like what you see, but you've never really sharpened blades before, and you've never really dealt with recurves in CPM S30V, then you're gonna have to, there's gonna be a big learning curve with that recurve. So overall, guys, though, a fantastic larger folder and how it performs in its utility tasks. Well, folks, it's time for us to give you the value here on this knife. Now, on Amazon, when I'm filming this, you know, prices vary, prices may drop because this is brand new to the market, but when you look it up on Amazon, and I'll have a link in the description below, this is running for $219, $219, and that is a pretty penny. We're talking about a price point that, when you run it up against other stuff on the market, is, in my opinion, a little steep. Yes, this is a very, you know, thick, heavy, more material goes into the design, more time on the grind angles because there's multiple grinds and those type of things. Yes, that's all true, but I wanted to roll in for some perspective, the very classic and one of my favorite blades, the Spyderco Manix 2. Now this has USA made CPM S30V steel. This has USA made CPM S30V steel. This has G10 handles. This has G10 handles. This has steel liners. This has steel liners. So you get the kind of the picture here and the theme going along with these two blades. But I got to tell you that this Manix, though maybe doesn't have quite the attention to grind angles and different things like that, and isn't as heavy duty or hardcore as this blade, this is like $110 to $120. So $100 less for this Spyderco than this hardcore hardware. So when you really start to weigh what the materials are and, you know, what goes into, say, this hardcore hardware compared to other blades on the market, the Spyderco, most Benchmade's are going to be well under $200. Very few are unless you start getting into the custom. I mean, that's a steep price point. And honestly, I'm going to keep it real with you guys. There's just a lot on the market for a lot less that are absolutely with the same materials and a lot of premium design. So you're going to be buying this not necessarily because of the price point, but because you like the design and the features that hardcore hardware is producing and giving to you. So when it comes to value, being real and being honest here, I'm going to have to give this like a, I don't know, like a 2.5 out of 5 on the value. I would have liked to see this much more around like the $160, $150 mark. Would have made a lot more sense and been a lot more tolerable. But as it stands at over $200, that's a really steep price point for the same materials that you can get in a lot of other really premium folders. So 2 out of 5 on the value for this blade. All right, folks, it's time for us to not only give you the rating on the ergonomics for this knife, but also just kind of talk you through the handle overall. Now, the first thing I want to hit on before we even jump into that is the weight. This weighs in at 7.5 ounces. Now, if you've been watching the channel for a while, you know I'm much more of a lightweight guy, and I prefer lightweight blades. This is the Spyderco Delica 4. This is 2.5 ounces, much lighter. This is usually my EDC. This is what I prefer when it comes to weight on the majority of my folders. But this Delica has nowhere near the capabilities and strength because of the thickness of the blade and the handle strength that this knife down here has. So there's, you know, there's definitely a sense of a tank beefiness that this knife will have that this Delica will not. So you're obviously trading your weight for your strength and capability. So that is something to note. And the reason for that is because we have G10 handle scales on one side and we have 420 stainless steel on the other, and that is a huge honkin' frame lock. You can see there. And just that huge piece of steel, and then the steel on the other side with that G10. So, I mean, that makes for just a heavy blade. It's just the way it is, and then the size of the blade itself. So these G10 handle scales have been ribbed real nice, and it's not real deep, so it doesn't hurt your hand. It feels very comfortable with bare hands, and will give you good traction with bare hands or with gloves on. You can see I wear large size gloves, and I got about 1 inch off the back to spare with that nice lanyard hole. And then I got that kind of flat pommel right there, so you could do some light pommeling if you needed to. And then they give you some jimping right here, then along the frame lock, and 2 sets right here. And I like the jimping because it's not aggressive. It doesn't bite into my hand and make it feel uncomfortable, but it is going to lock me really nicely into place. You can see there. And I even like this little lip that they give you. When I'm locked in like that, man, I am solidly locked in. And not only is it comfortable, but it gives me plenty of real estate to do what I need to work with this knife. Even kind of giving me this kind of finger choil right here that I could choke up even a little more if need be. I just really like that a lot. It feels really good in the hand, gives me lots of real estate in both a reverse grip or in that forward grip. So overall, guys, I'm going to give this a 4.5 out of 5 on my ergonomic rating. The only reason I'm dinging it is not because of comfortability, but just because it's so flippin' heavy. If this was more around like the 5 ounce range, that would be a lot more reasonable for me. You know, I would just like to see that. Now that would mean probably having to make titanium on this side, and that would bring the price up. But something to note there with the weight, and I'm giving it a 4.5 out of 5 on the ergonomics for the knife. All right, folks, let's go ahead and look at some of the deployment, lockup, and centering on the knife. Now we'll look at centering first. You can see there, and I don't know how well it's showing up on frame, but this is dead center right down the center of the blade, and I've done a lot of hard use and tons of opening and closing, and I haven't seen any floating of the blade from side to side, so that's awesome. Dead center straight down the middle. Then when you purchase this is going to come with the thumb studs not attached to the knife. You have the choice to put these thumb studs in any one of these 3 holes, and then you just tighten them down. So that is something to note there. There's a little bit of customization in where you want to place the thumb studs depending on the size of your hand, maybe gloves you're wearing, that type of thing. Now they are the exact same size on either side, which makes the thumb studs themselves ambidextrous. We're going to talk about pocket clip and how that may not be as advantageous in just a moment, but very easy for me to grab hold of those thumb studs. You can see there that the G10's been kind of milled down a little bit right there on that last hole where you could put the thumb stud, and I can easily, boom, just flick that blade right open. Don't even have to flick my wrist, and that just flies right open with those bronze or brass washers in there, which are fantastic. You can see them in there. I'll see if I can show it to you on frame here on screen. You can see down in there, which just makes them not only super tough, but also very smooth and very fast deployment for such a large blade. And then finally the frame lock, which is that 420 steel. That's that whole side here, and you can see how massive that frame lock is. Guys, this is the thickest frame lock I've ever seen on any knife that I've reviewed to date, and I've reviewed quite a lot of folders over the years. And you can just see there that that hits easily 50% of the blade, and there is superb lockup. 0 play, left, right, up, down. This thing is a freaking monster when it comes to lockup, and for a frame lock or liner lock kind of design, this is, from what I've seen, the toughest and the strongest to date. So that is something to know, and then it's just very easy for me to close this one-handed. So deployment and opening and closing the blade as well as the lockup is superb on this knife. All right, let's hit up the quality here real fast on the knife. And I gotta tell you, this is a great quality item. I'm giving this a very solid 5 out of 5 on the quality for this blade. All of the angles are really well done. There's no sharp angles. The perfect strength of that liner lock, and then, or frame lock, excuse me, and then the perfect centering down the center of the blade as well is great. Those great bronze bushings that they're using in there, the great deployment, CPM S30V USA made blade, just all of those things really add up to just be a great quality item. So you're getting a great quality blade with this Hardcore Hardware folder, and very solid again, 5 out of 5. All right, folks, let's go ahead and take a look here at the pocket clip and talk about the carry option rating on this knife. Now, as you can see here, we got a really good pocket clip. It's very, stiff and secure. It's gonna really help to lock your knife in your pocket. It is stainless steel as well as the stainless steel frame, so it isn't necessarily stealthy. People, if you're wearing this, people are gonna know you got a knife in your pocket. That's up to you. If this was all blacked out on this side, it might be a little nicer. I would have just liked to see that, or at least an option for that maybe. You got that lanyard hole, so you could easily, attach a lanyard, pull it out. I like how deep it rides. It rides rather deep for the size of knife, so I like that a lot. It's not, super high and taking up a lot of real estate in this area of my pocket. You got that jimping along the back end here near the lanyard hole, as well as the ribbing on the G10 handle, so that makes it very easy for you to pull out the knife and deploy it and use it. Now, the pocket clip is tip up, tip down. I love that. Very nice. I was very happy about that. I'm a tip up kind of guy, so the fact that I can swap that tip up, tip down is always great. Nothing for lefties though. I would have liked to see a set of holes right here for lefties, because the thumb stud does allow that. It's very easy for me to deploy this left-handed. So that is something to note. It is not an ambidextrous blade in the sense of the pocket clip. So the last thing to note as well is, because of this stainless steel with the pocket clip, now that makes it real nice for EDC use. If I'm going to the office, going out for dinner, that makes it really nice. It's not going to thrash my pants. The downside is, for someone actually deploying this in a tactical or law enforcement situation, you want really good grip in between the pocket clip and the frame of the knife. So it would have been nice to have maybe some more traction, like a G10, maybe just along that lock bar right there. that frame lock, just to kind of give it a little bit more grip. So this is definitely will not be as grippy, the pocket clip, so to speak, in your pants as say like a Cold Steel Recon or Lawman or something like that. Those are going to be locked into your pocket and, you know, really grab your pocket a lot more. Now they'll thrash your clothing real fast. This will not thrash your clothing. So it's either a pro or a con. If you're going to EDC this, you know, around town, no issues. If you're law enforcement, I could see it kind of being a little bit of an issue where this could possibly slide out of your pocket with really hard running and gunning use. So that's just something to note. Overall, guys, I'm going to give this a 4 out of 5 for the carry options on this knife. Well, folks, it's time to bring this review to a close and give you my final thoughts on this MILF-01. And Hardcore Hardware's first jump into folders. First off, I got to say, it's not easy doing folders, and Hardcore Hardware, for its functionality and operation, made a great jump into the folder market, and there's no complaints that I have with its overall features, design, or quality. It all works perfectly, and I have really no issues, and I can't wait to see what they come up with in the future when it does come to their folder designs. I'm really excited because I really like what I'm seeing in its overall design when we're talking about a big old honking monster of a blade. And that's really what comes to mind when I think about this knife. I think of like a World War II, you know, tank driver popping the top off his tank, climbing out. He doesn't care about weight. He's got this big, he just, you know, he likes big, heavy stuff. And I know there's a lot of you out there that like big, heavy things. And, you know, this is the pocket knife he's got on him. He whips it open, you know, to either, you know, finish off a Nazi or, you know, do some sort of utility task around, you know, the tank or whatever, you know, prying open his food can, you know, sea ration or something like that. You know, that's just what comes to mind when I think about this blade. This is not a lightweight EDC. It's not designed to be a lightweight EDC. This is a heavy duty utility folder. And if that's what you're into or that's what you're looking for, this thing is awesome. The downfall for me for the time being is the price point. If this was, like I talked about in the value portion, closer to the $150 mark, floating around in that area, maybe a little more, maybe a little less, I think this would be a great value and a great blade overall, and really, you know, be very competitive with other stuff out there, and I'd be giving this a 5 out of 5. Because of the over $200 price point here as I'm filming, you know, again, prices may vary and prices may drop some, but for that $220, I am gonna ding it, you know, one big point. I'm gonna give this a 4 out of 5 on the likability, because there are a lot of other knives on the market that I like just as much or even a little bit more that are maybe, you know, 160, 170, you know, like that I'd be more interested in first before this folder because of the price point. And again, if it was a lower price point, this would be higher on the list of likability. So 4 out of 5, guys, but if you're willing to drop down the money and you like what you see, you will not be sorry. Great premium materials, great quality, and great design for those bigger, heavier blades that you like to carry in your pockets. So as always, thank you so much for checking out the channel. I hope that this has helped you out with your purchasing decisions. Check us out on all the relevant social media. The links are in the description below. Please subscribe, comment, like, share this video, and as always, remember, stay equipped, stay prepared. We'll see you out there.